I think from our perspective, what is really lacking is the pull factor from the investor base. Now, if you look at the markets like Middle East and Malaysia, there is enough demand for sukuk coming from the investors. So because of the pull factor, corporates then take the effort to structure and offer a sukuk. Now, sukuk requires certain additional effort beyond just disclosure and going through the rigmarole of raising a bond issuance. It actually requires you to dedicate some assets. It requires you to go through the Sharia process. So unless there's a pull factor, so for example, in Malaysia and the Middle East, it's quite clear that if an issuer goes to the market, a corporate issuer goes to the market, the corporate issuer cannot afford to alienate the Islamic-oriented investors. So take in Malaysia, for example, the Employee Provident Fund, the pension fund, the takaful operators, the mutual funds, they all have demand for sukuk. So if I'm a corporate, if I just focus on the conventional bond, I'm going to alienate the Islamic investors. So the Islamic investors would be very critical for my success. So I better do sukuk, where I can tap the conventional investors as well as the Islamic investors. Now, that pull factor comes in through various incentives. So for example, the government gives a tax break for takaful or insurance. So if I'm an individual paying, in Indonesia the tax rate, the highest taxes is 30%. If there's a tax credit given for insurance premium or takaful contribution, that will lead to people buying takaful, life takaful, education takaful, retirement takaful, which can reduce their tax payouts. That would mean the takaful industry can grow. So if life takaful industry grows, the demand for sukuk will also grow because they need assets to grow. So the master plan has included a lot of incentives. For example, it is saying there will be incentives for issuers by lowering the cost of issuance. There is some discounts given for sukuk issuance. But at the same time, there needs to be some push on the investor side. So the investor side must go out and say that the pension funds will allocate 40% of their fixed income portfolio to Islamic, for example. So immediately issuers would know, well, there is a preference for sukuk among the investors. Now I will take the effort to structure a sukuk. And if tax is a burden, then they would effectively go and lobby for the changes. So at the moment I see the market is ripe for corporate sukuk, but the demand side is not very clear. Because if I can go to the market and tap the conventional bond market effortlessly, why should I take more effort to tap the sukuk market? So that's why last year we only had one sukuk issue in Indonesia, corporate sukuk issue. So in Malaysia, most issuers will default to sukuk because he's going to hit two birds with one stone. He's going to tap the conventional funds, he's going to tap the Islamic funds. So we need to see a progressive growth in Islamic institutional investor base. The pension fund, the mutual funds, the takaful operators, and other reserve managers. In Indonesia, you've got large private sector pension funds, right? So they need to also come out and say, we're going to dedicate X amount for sukuk. Immediately you will see the pickup in the sukuk growth. And the second part is on the tax angle. I mean, these are things that could be easily resolved. Because it is not a tax leakage, right? So for example, airtime may not work in Indonesia because the moment, say, Excel Axiata transfers airtime, there could be a VAT implication, right? But in effect, it's not selling outrightly because although there is a sale from an Islamic perspective, the SPV or the vehicle will pass the airtime back to Axiata to sell to retail. So from a balance sheet perspective, nothing changes. But from a tax perspective, they say you may have to pay VAT. So other countries from UK to Middle East to Malaysia have said there's no tax implications because it's effectively a Sharia structure for the sole purpose of raising a financing through sukuk Therefore, there's no tax leakage.
Yeah.
So there must be a thought process that goes through in terms of tax administration that smoothens the sukuk issuance and create a level playing field between conventional and Islamic.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that, Rafe.